What's up, and welcome to episode 158 of Throwback Hoops. My name is Rob Clayton, and I'm joined as always by the jet-setting businessman, Woody V. What's up, bro?
Nothing much, man. Good to be back in Sydney. That's what your wife's been calling me, the businessman, I hear, right?
Yeah, the businessman. You are a bit of a jet-setter, so before we get into it, why don't you tell everyone where you've been the last week?
We heard on the last episode I was traveling to Perth for work, so it was nice. Got to catch up with the sport blokes. Busy week, but got to have some time for myself on Saturday to spend some time with the guys, and recorded a podcast while I was over there, funnily enough.
Good.
Yeah.
Did you try and help out Bryce with the citizenship stuff or anything while you're over there, or you just let that
come on,
slide?
man. People from Perth know that I've got very little influence over there. That's your own country, right? Yeah, you got your own rules.
Everywhere. No, for sure.
No, it's really nice, and I'd honestly suggest everyone go and check out the Sport Blokes' most recent podcast. I'll be a guest on there, speaking not just basketball but cricket as well.
Good stuff. Sounds good, Woods. Well, just a reminder where to find us. Please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio, it's available where all good podcasts are found. Please make sure you like, rate, subscribe, and all that cool stuff. Well, Woods, I've got a bit to talk about today, as always. And I guess we'll start off like we always do with some jerseys. So I can see you're rocking a nice jersey today. So that's a couple of jerseys from you.
Yeah,
lately,
two Hawks ones as well.
Nice.
I really like them, man. Yeah.
Woods, stand up, rocking the Hawks. Number 15. Clint Capela jersey.
Honestly, these are the only two that I own. Before I talk about Clint Capela, I thought I'd keep it a bit Hawks themed today because our Atlanta Hawks are playing well. We're 31 and 34, sitting at 7th in the East, if I'm not mistaken.
We've got 3 places in the last week, which is
right,
good, so,
and that's the third win on the trot, 2 against Indiana and 1 against Philly today, right?
That's right.
So how have you seen us playing the East? You know, we're what 3-4 games out of coming. Indiana, I think, might be on 35
Detroit's
games.
The team in front of us. They're still a bit in front. But look, this is a 6-game homestand for the Hawks, which is the longest for the season. We've got Charlotte, I think, on Thursday, and then we've got the Clippers around that 6-game homestand there. So if we could get both those, we'd be pretty much up to 500 there. But yeah, going well. I mean, 2 home wins against Indiana was good. They're a team that's been playing really well. Didn't have Trey today. I know Philadelphia played a bunch of no-names, but no Trey in that game, and we got a win. So some good signs. As I mentioned, with the 3 new guys coming over, Shoot That Thing, Niang, Karis LeVert, and Terrence Mann, all 3 of those guys are really fitting in and playing a good role. So I'm already sort of starting to enjoy those guys.
Yes, and Capela, we talked about him just before the All-Star break. What's going on? He doesn't seem like he's unhealthy or anything. They're just sitting him out. But since the All-Star break, he's settled in nicely into that backup center that's rolling. Let me throw out some stats to you. 21.4 minutes per game, 8.9 points, 8.5 rebounds, and a block while shooting 56% from the field. Now, a backup center giving you 21 minutes per game, that is extremely serviceable. And we're in a situation now where we're saying, when is Double O going to take over from Clint? Are they going to just trade Clint? Now we've actually just seen a situation over the course of the season where they've just traded places. And I think that was a logical decision. Okongwu had done his service and time as the backup, right?
Well, Okongwu's averaging nearly 15 and 10 as a starter as well. He's hitting the 3-point shot. He's finally getting some regularity with those shots now. And maybe it's the homer card from Woods, but I think whichever one of those ones comes off the bench in terms of our bigs, that's got to be one of the best backup big men in the league, right? It really is.
Absolutely. And look, Okongwu's also blocking shots at at least one block shot per game he's given you recently as well. So you've got rim protection on the floor with Okongwu and Capela, which is great, right?
You know what I loved about those jerseys, Woods? It's coming up pretty much right on a year since we had our great trip in Atlanta. They had jerseys in white, red, and black, and they pretty much had them for every player, from Trey down to Bruno Fernando. It was unbelievable. So you could get any player in any 3 of those color combinations. So it was pretty cool, and a lot more affordable than the jerseys as well. So that's
really comfortable, and you can wear these in a slightly different setting, right?
Yeah, that's it. Oh, nice one. Woods, always happy to see some Hawk stuff there. Well, I'm rocking something very different today, Woods. Quite a fitting jersey that I'm wearing. I'm not sure if you can quite see what it is. You could probably tell.
I saw Spirit on it. So I'm like,
yeah. All right, nice. I'll show you what I'm wearing today.
And Robbie's wearing the WNBL Bendigo Spirit Sami Whitcombe jersey. And I think, Robert, it's only fitting that you're wearing that jersey today, right?
That's right. Nice jersey, isn't it? Nice colours and everything else like that. As you know, I bought a bit of a bunch of some WNBL jerseys like earlier in the year. So turned out quite well. I got this one. So, a little bit on Sami Whitcombe. It's a Bendigo Spirit WNBL jersey. So she's 36 years of age, Wood. So she's not a spring chicken anymore, but what a great year she's had. So she was born in California. Her resume is about as long as your arm there. So she won her second WNBL championship on Sunday, while also earning finals MVP to go with her season MVP and to go with her bronze medal for the Opals at the Paris Olympics. So it's been a pretty amazing 12 months for Sami there. She's also a six-time WNBL all WNBL player, and will also suit up for Phoenix Mercury in the upcoming WNBA season, which starts in May. So not going to be the biggest break for Sami there. Really like the way she plays. Pretty much, with Loz Nicholson sitting out this season, was one of my, favourite players to watch. Look, we're going to speak a little bit more in the WNBL section later on in the show about the finals. But, what are your thoughts on Sami?
I was just going to say, add a Rachel Spawn Grand Final MVP to that list of
I said that,
achievements. You did say that. Okay, my apologies. But I think her story to get to where she was is an incredible one, right? Didn't take the traditional route to come and become a pro and represent Australia, as you said, born in California, came through the lower level leagues in Australia before someone noticed her and gave her an opportunity, right? I think she was playing Southeast SEABL or something like that, would it have been back then? And
so basically then found her way on a few sort of WNBL teams, and to be doing that at 36, I mean, what a great sort of 12 months she's played there, and she pretty much doesn't have a weakness, does she? She was really impressive in that Paris Olympics campaign as well, wasn't she? She pretty much, well, look, she was, if she wasn't our best player, she's probably our, in our top 2 or 3 players in that Olympic campaign there. But someone I definitely enjoyed to watch. She was with Seattle last year in the WNBA, so she'll be starting with Phoenix in this upcoming season. But nice to rock a different jersey today, right?
Yeah, definitely, and then certainly fitting as well. So
I feel like you were going to come up with a random stat or something, but you didn't. You're all good.
I was going to, but all good. Let's move on.
Right, nice. Well, before we get into big week, I'll also go into a card of the week there. So another card that I thought was a fitting one to show today, Woods. This is an NBA card of a guy that's been on fire during the NBL playoffs. So it's a Panini Innovation 2013-14 Utah Jazz signed rookie card of Ian Clark.
Nice.
Isn't that a nice card? So this is one of those game-worn sort of memorabilia bits at the bottom. It's a really thick card there, Woods. I'd say that's probably 3 times thicker than a normal card there. So Ian Clark, it talks about him being undrafted out of Belmont College, which is obviously where Dylan Windler also went there. It's also number 12 of 299, so pretty random card. It's funny, I think a lot of people do remember his time more with Golden State, do they? Because that's obviously where he had a lot of success. But, Utah was where he was a rookie there. He's looking very skinny in that photo, I've got to say there. He's definitely put on a little bit of bulk since then, and that's 12 years ago, as we've all filled out a little bit in those 12 years. But, as I said, someone that's been on fire in these NBL playoffs. He's had some huge games, off the bench as well. So I know you're a fan of IC there. How have you seen his playoffs going so far?
I'm a massive fan. He's had, 35, and I think he had another 37 potentially recently.
Maybe,
And I didn't think he had it in him. I mean, he just cruised through the season, contributed at opportune points where Vickerman and the coaching staff needed him to, because they've got that deep roster. He hasn't had to have those big games, but he's just turned it on in the playoffs. And I think it's really hurt him, like losing last year, coming back to Melbourne. Melbourne to get an import coming back. Obviously, he won 6th man of the year and whatnot last year. The staff there, his teammates love him. So he's become part of that culture over there. And it obviously hurt him what happened last year. So to come back, and he really had a chip on his shoulder and a point to prove this year. So,
like you said, absolutely beloved there, isn't he? Apparently he's just an all-time great sort of guy. He does a lot of, coaching with the kids and the juniors and stuff. So great to see him sort of giving back at this age. And that. But I thought that was a pretty cool card. I built up a bit of a collection of these NBA cards of either current or former NBL players. And it's always random to see this. But nice looking card there. Signed Ian Clark, Utah Jazz rookie card. So good stuff. Well, a lot to talk about, Woods. We're going to start off with NBL playoffs. So I should say at the time of recording, Tuesday the 11th of March. So we're 1 game down in the grand final with a big game 2 coming tomorrow, which we'll preview in a second. But the semi-finals wrapped up since we last recorded. So we're going to start there, unfortunately, I should say. But yeah, I thought I'd maybe talk about those results and a little bit of a debrief on those. So both of the series went to game threes, and it's definitely with a heavy heart that I start with the United versus Wildcats series. United won 2-1 after a thrilling 113-112 win in game three. So Clark with 38, as we mentioned in that game. CG had 30, so amazing to get 68 between those two guards. For the Wildcats, Christian Doolittle, 37, the best game he's ever had in Perth colours there. And Bryce, a quiet 33 there, if you can have a quiet 33. So, look, a lot of maybe neutral fans are saying this is probably the best all-time NBL game. Probably hard for me to say that, given it wasn't the result that I wanted, and given there was a bit of controversy in the game, which I'm still not completely over there. So maybe it's best to ask a neutral there. Do you think it was the best NBL game ever? And give me some thoughts on these controversial moments, obviously, that I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, okay, so I mean, it was 38 points actually with Ian Clark, not 35 or 37. I mean, just some of the best shot making you'll ever see in a game three. For these guys just to go back and forth, four guys having 30 points in a single game, right? You got to give credit where credit's due. Keep the refereeing aside for a little bit. It's also about you play all year to get that home court advantage. And we talked about on the Sport Blokes podcast, that loss against Cairns. You look back on it now and you think, if the Wildcats had won that game, they would have got that home court in game three. The calls tend to go your way a little bit more when they're on your home floor and you get the rub of the green a little bit more. Obviously, the penny didn't drop that way, and some of the calls might have gone Melbourne's United's way, but that's what happens on your home floor sometimes in a game three. Those line ball decisions go your way.
All right. Let me have my say on those calls now. Look, these weren't kind of, maybe a missed foul or a charge foul. These were crucial fouls, or crucial non-calls. So essentially there was a travel that Ian Clark did. Everyone in the building, including the commentary, and everyone watching it knew it was a travel. They got 2 points off that. And then Ben Henschel with a clear shot that was touched the backboard and then was blocked there by Marcus Lee there. So you can't do that, right? The ball touches the backboard there. You can't. That's a goaltending if you try and block a shot on that one. That's the one that really disappointed me. The margin was 1. That was 2 points we lost on that one. Pretty disappointing that they can't, maybe the refs can't look at that at a stoppage later on in the game. They do that with, 3s and 2s and things like that. I heard the Perth owner, Mark Arena, sort of echo that point as well. Look, we can go back a minute later and say, oh, hang on, that guy had his foot on the line. That was actually 3, not 2. Why couldn't they have gone back and said, look, that was a clear goaltending. The ball clearly hit the backboard first. Put the 2 points on for Perth. I don't know. That part disappointed me. I don't know if that's some sort of rule they can look at going forward, because that to me was a really obvious one. A travel, look, travels do get missed, and we see travels quite often. We certainly don't see as many as we do in the NBA, fortunately. But it was the goaltending one that really hurt me, and the fact that was 2 points lost and we lost by 1 is pretty hard to swallow. One thought I had, Woods, had no issue with that final play, right? That was clearly a foul on Henschel and CG there. It was a well drawn up plan by United. They've run that play at the end of games
against
Sydney.
Times.
Exactly.
Against Sydney, remember?
I had a bit of a thought in that game, and I heard a few people say, "Look, Whitcombe out coach." Really, perhaps he did. He's a great coach there. I would have liked a plan B or even a plan C for that last play. And I'm not sure if you're getting at, Wood, if you know what I'm getting at here, Wood. So, what do you normally do in that situation? You do an offense for a defense for an offensive kind of swap, don't you, in that sort of situation, right? Perth's got a Sudanese guy, a Sudanese Australian by the name of Dave Okwera on the bench, right? His arms are probably so long, he could probably touch both ends of the walls in the room I'm sitting now. Would you not think about putting him on?
And I mean,
would you not think about putting him on and just basically standing as tall as you can? Ben Henschel's basically 6'4". He's not much, probably about my height, 6'4". I think he's listed as 6'5". Okwera is 7 foot with a massive long wingspan there. So that's something I would have liked to have seen. You don't need to be that warmed up. He wasn't going to have a shot opportunity. Why didn't Perth consider something like that?
I was going to say, I have seen many times coaches do that, even recently in the NBA when there's one play left, a defensive play. Get your tallest guy on the inbounds passer, 100%. Right? Maybe it's just a error in judgment or not paying attention to detail, right?
A confidence in making that bold decision there, because it would have been a bold decision. Okwera hadn't played the whole game, but the guy's no chump, Woods. He played recently for the Boomers. The guy's a decent player. He was starting games for a little bit of a chunk of the season as well. So I just would have loved to have seen something like that. Obviously it's all in hindsight now, but
didn't have to be David Okwera. They could have picked another big and just chucked him out.
But him in particular, just given how long his wingspan is. Sure. It was the first. I was thinking about that straight away. Look, Henschel, was up and down, wasn't he? He had his moments, and he had a few moments that maybe he didn't shine too brightly. But anyway, it's just a little thought I had about it. But look, at the end of the day, it's the time's healed a little bit the way I'm feeling now. So congratulations to Melbourne for getting that win. It was a really good series.
Very good series, man.
Yeah. I don't know whether I'll be able to go back and watch that game for all how good it was. It's going to hurt too much of seeing it. And if it ends up being that it was Bryce's game, I've got it saved on the Fox thing there. So maybe I do go back and watch it another time. But
and shout out to Jesse Wagstaff. If that was his last shot ever, man, pretty awesome.
Mate,
right?
I literally went nuts when he got that three. You've seen how excited I get in games.
So did I.
I was running around the lower part of my house, just yelling out. I forget what I even said, but it was pretty late, and my neighbours probably thought there's a crazy person.
I was at the Raffles in Perth, man, one of the famous pub over there.
Yeah. Nice.
Going off, man.
So that was the game 3 there. So Melbourne winning by 1. The other game 3 between Hawks and Southeast wasn't quite as good, was it? So the Hawks pretty much were in control all game in that one, winning 126-96. The margin was actually looking like it was going to be closer to 50 at one stage, and they kind of called off the Dogs at the end. Trey Kell III was amazing, 30 points. Toddy Blanchfield, 8 of 12 3-pointers for 28 points. So unbelievable. He's scoring 28 in a closeout semi-final game. Joe Wieskamp had 25 and Sobey 19, but it was, I think for Southeast, it was Hurt and Hunter only 4 points each. And we've seen that in 2 of the 3 games now. Matt Hurt, who was third in MVP voting there, just basically couldn't do anything there. So pretty good game plan, I would have thought, from the Hawks and Justin Tatum there to do that. Probably don't need to spend too much time on this game, given it wasn't that close. But yeah, it was a big win by the Hawks, wasn't it?
It was. And Trey Kell said, look, he was disappointed about the way he performed in game 2, and he had a point to prove. He came out and did his thing. And look, Toddy Blanchfield, 19 minutes. The coach said, look, it's a game 3. We're relying on our veteran. 8 3-point makes from memory, I think it was.
8 of 12.
8 of 12, 10 from 15 from the field, 28 points, I think it was. Turning back the clock, man. And for him to be in this league for 16 years, to be on the doorstep of a championship, we're hoping for him. Yeah,
be nice to see. I must admit, anytime I see someone go 8 of 12, I'm like, man, why didn't you jack a few more up? Like 8 of 12, that's just scorching hot. You want to at least take another 4 to.
He's only got 19 minutes, so he put up 16 shots or 15 shots in 19 minutes.
Time, didn't he? And look, I think the Hawks showed their depth in that series, didn't they? Being able to bring in multiple, defensive guys, and
off the bench,
and guys like Dave O'Hickey and Dave, Greeter had some time there.
He did, yeah.
Wani, they've got some great defensive players there, and I think Tatum's got a lot of trust in that bench to certain situations there. So, look, obviously that set up the grand final there. Game 1 has already taken place on Saturday, so there's a bit of a gap actually between game 1 and game 2, which is Wednesday, the 12th. But yeah, look. Game 1, I didn't think it was the most amazing game, if I'm being honest. Full credit to United getting a great road win, 98-88 there.
96-88, I think it was.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, really big win regardless. So getting that road team getting that win, they say that's when the series starts, when the road team wins. So all the pressure is back on the Hawks now. Only 35 points scored in that second half for the Hawks, which was pretty alarming there. So United a really even spread there. They had 5 guys in double figures, led by Delhi with 18. And for the Hawks, look, they had Froling, Hickey, and Blanchfield, get sort of double figures there, but it was the Harvey and Kell, both in single digits there. So that's unbelievable. The all NBL first team, both guys that made that team there scoring single digits. So what were your thoughts on that game before we get into a bit of a preview for the rest of the series?
Well, Illy and Delhi did a really good job, as they always do, right? That's an all defensive, almost backcourt, you could say, right? Going up against an all offensive backcourt. But I said, why do they get Marcus Lee for big games against other bigs, right?
For doing goaltending.
So obviously going up against a guy like Sam Froling is when his value comes to the fore, right? And we saw that, right? I think Melbourne's going to be tough to beat, man. What's this? 14 points and 15 boards, 2 blocks, Marcus Lee. So, I mean, they got a problem there, right? And, the home court is now swung back in favor of Melbourne, right? They get a victory.
I thought Whitcombe coached well in this one. Again, like we said in the Perth series, he sort of made a couple of different moves there. He backed off Dave O'Hickey a few times, didn't they? He was a reluctant shooter in that game there. I wanted to ask you about one player who I think is going to be a pivotal player for United and the rest of this series, Woods, and that's Jack White there. Yeah. He's had a really up and down playoff so far, hasn't he? He's struggled from the free throw line, but he's had games where he's got hot from the outside. His defense has been good. He's had foul troubles. You sort of don't know what you're going to get there. But what are you expecting in this next home game for Melbourne from Jack White?
Yeah, at home games, it's where things start to fall your way. That shot that you were missing. I think it was 0 from 6 from 3 the other night, right? He might see a few drop. The thing about Jack White is if his shot isn't dropping, his free throws aren't dropping, he's going to find ways to impact the game, whether it be taking a charge, getting an offensive board, getting a second shot opportunity for his team, blocking a shot. He just finds ways to get involved in the game. And I just find that if Melbourne get it going and go up 2-0 here, there's no coming back then, is there?
I think you're right. It's going to be very hard to come
Illawarra,
back. Look, I mentioned Illawarra had 35 in that second half. What do they need to do to start this game? What do they need to do to get Harvey and Kell more involved? Because we know that's a tough matchup against Illy and Delhi. That's one of the all-time great defensive backcourts that Melbourne have got there. But what can Illawarra do to get those two guys going, and especially getting going early?
Yeah, I mean, some pin down staggers to get them open, right? It's up to the coaching staff to draw up some plays to get them free. If one of them is getting a lot of attention, maybe they defer to the other. I think the coaching staff has, 4 or 5 days between the previous game and this one, so plenty of time to break down some videos, find out what worked, what didn't, and adjust accordingly. And I like the fact it's a 5-game series here. 3-game series, good. You can't really make those adjustments.
5's the way we like it, isn't it?
I like it. Yeah.
I'd like to see Kell maybe being aggressive from the outset in tomorrow night's game, potentially trying to get one of these guys in foul trouble. If you could say they decide to put Illy on Kell, for example, we're not sure which way it'll go there. Say he can get 2 fouls on Illy in the first 3.5 minutes there. That's going to really change things for Melbourne. Then you're sort of looking at, maybe Flynn Cameron, Tanner Krebs, those sort of guys, which aren't really going to be able to slow down a guy with the skill that Trey Kell's got there.
The thing is, a guy like HJ Lee, he's been pretty quiet, right? In that first game, you draw up a few plays for him, get him open. He knocks down 3 or 4 outside shots. It opens up the floor for everybody, right? So that's something they can look at as well. Yeah.
Who's got the better bench out of these two teams, do you think?
Illawarra.
Pretty even, isn't it? They're pretty strong benches. Illawarra's good, but then Melbourne are bringing 2 Americans off their bench, plus they're bringing, guys like Krebs and Cameron. So they're probably the 2 deepest teams. Well, I mean, I did think the Sydney roster was pretty loaded, but in terms of just guys that can play multiple positions and make an impact there, look, it's probably happened the right way. This is the best 2 teams in the regular season. As much as I would have liked to have seen Perth there, I just hope it's a good series, right? So whether that means Illawarra win the next one, that probably does need to happen for it to be a good series. Give us some predictions there, Woods. Obviously, this will be out. People will be listening to this before that game too. Who do you think firstly is going to win game 2, and how's this series going to end up?
Well, my prediction was Illawarra in 5. No, Illawarra in 4. That's probably out of the window now.
Tough now.
It's probably out of the window now. So I think Melbourne has to win. Illawarra in 5, I'm going to say. Melbourne are going to be hard to beat, but I'm going to say Illawarra is going to come. Justin Tatum's going to adjust and bring his troops to play. Yeah.
I'm going to say Melbourne in 4. Look, I probably would have thought Illawarra in 5 before that Melbourne pinched that game 1. I'm going to say Melbourne win tomorrow, gets the 2-0 lead. Illawarra takes care of business in game 3, and then Melbourne wins on their home court. Gentleman's sweep, yeah. So I'd love it to go to 5. We'd obviously want to see this great season continue, and it has been a really good season, hasn't it? I know we both said that quite a few times offline there. We've enjoyed it. I know there's been other people, social media and that haven't. I know we've really enjoyed it. But yeah, I think hopefully there's some good storylines to come there. Looking forward to this game too. Wednesday night, it's not the worst time. I think game 3 is Sunday, is it possibly? Maybe an afternoon game. So, yeah, just obviously have to check out how that game's going. But, look, potentially there's only 2 games left. If Melbourne decide to sweep this one, there's only 2 games left for the season. And then it's that sad point in time where we don't have NBL for a long time. But, yeah, looking forward to it. I'll slowly get over this hurt of Perth missing out. But, yeah, good luck to the 2 teams in the finals.
At least your team did a lot better than mine this season.
Yeah, true. Nice. All right, well, that's a bit of an NBL wrap. Thought we'd go into some NBA next, Woods. Look, just a few little, I guess, quick sort of hits in this one. So we spoke a little bit about the Hawks, so we don't need to do a Hawks talk, but yeah, great to see them getting the 3 games in a row. Seems to be a few teams, on hot and cold streaks at the moment. Maybe given that there, I might start with Dallas there. So they actually snapped a 5-game losing streak today with a win against the Spurs, but it's looking like a bit of a disaster for the Mavs, isn't it, at this stage of the year? So we saw the news last week, Kyrie will miss the remainder of the season with a torn ACL. Such a shame given how well he was playing. And now AD's, that 1 to 2 weeks he's been out, it's turned into 3. We know Gafford and Lively have been out for quite a while. Not sure when they'll be back. So they've only got 16 games left, this team, Woods. I think they're 10th in the West at the moment. How much of a disaster has this season been for Dallas? And do you see him just basically just calling this season and making it a bit of a write-off now?
Well, it's already write-off now. They don't need to worry about trying this season at all. And I mean, I feel really sorry for the fan base who's had to endure all of this recently. But to be fair, look, they traded for AD for success right away, right? You know,
and
this
we
guy,
said that, didn't we, at the time? They could win it this year if the chips
I
went their
didn't say
way.
that. I never said that.
Well, I think we talked about it was a chance.
They'd be
We didn't say it
competitive.
was-
They'd be
yeah.
competitive, right? Yeah. I don't know about winning it all, but yes, if they were going to, the window would be now or next year
Yeah.
potentially. But the point is, he's got a torn ACL now, like Kyrie Irving at 34. You're not coming back from that for 12 months, right? Potentially.
Yeah.
So he's going to miss this year and probably almost all of next year,
Yeah,
right?
it's not
So by the
great.
time AD and him are healthy to play together, you're looking at what, the 26-27 season? Is that right?
AD and healthy doesn't go great in a sentence together.
Whatever,
either,
they'll
does
be
it?
35, 36 by the time, and that window is going to be well and truly closed, which now makes the trade look even worse than before. I guess, I'm sorry, Dallas fans, you know, it's only up from here.
But this is that bad thing as well. Even if they really decide to tank these 16 games, they're still not going to be one of the bottom 5 teams. So they're kind of in that no man's land, you know, where they just miss out on the play-in. Not going to get the greatest draft pick there.
They got Brandon Williams with an eye starting. They got
What's the Najee Marshall show for them at the moment, isn't it? He's been killing it.
Dwight Powell is playing like 25 minutes a game. They don't have to try to tank, man.
What about in that game yesterday? Dwight Powell and the Brandon guy banged their heads and had to go off and get
Yeah, I
stitches
saw,
put in. They
I
didn't have
saw.
anyone they could put on. They actually had a really good player on their team that they traded away at the trade deadline there, Woods. You know who I'm talking about there?
No, I can't think of
They
it.
made a little trade with Philadelphia, remember?
Did they?
Got Caleb Martin, they
Oh,
traded
yeah,
Quentin
yeah,
Grimes
they
away.
did,
So
they
Quentin
did.
Grimes is dominating for
he
Philly. I
is.
watched that whole game, Philly against Atlanta today. He's a really good player, Quentin Grimes. So
he's-
he would have looked great on that roster. Those Martin twins, you know kind of what you're getting from them. But Quentin Grimes, I'm not sure what they were doing with that trade there. He's really shown his worth with Philly there. But yeah, it is a shame to see, isn't it? And you're probably the same, Woods. I know we maybe haven't been the greatest Kyrie fans over the years. I've kind of taken a bit of a liking to him this year. He seems a bit more normal.
Ever since he came to Dallas, he's been in a happy place. And
fun guy to watch and everything like that. So a shame at his age with this sort of injury. And you're absolutely right. You know, this could be a maximum of 12 months. He's a guard that, you know, uses his footwork and, you know, speed and sort of agility and those sort of things. So who knows whether we'll regain that. And as for guys like Lively and Gafford there still seems to be no real updates there. And maybe there won't.
They're out for the year.
They probably are.
They're
right?
all 3 of those bigs are out for the year, pretty much.
Dwight Powell getting big minutes. Yikes. Mate, that guy struggles to walk and chew gum at the same time, so that's a tough one for the Mavs there. So, yeah, not great in the big D.
What about Oliver Maxine Prosper? He's playing.
I don't mind him, and he's probably like a 9th player on a team, so he's going to be getting big minutes for Dallas there. I want to talk a little bit about Denver and especially the Joker there, Wood. So they actually had 2 games in a row against OKC. They lost the first and they won today. Had a pretty big win today. I was a little bit critical on our chat. No one replied to this little comment, but Chet Holmgren. Old horseface himself. I'd like to see a bit more from him. I keep looking at his box scores. He's a bit down, isn't he? His rebounds are down. You know, he's getting like 4 rebounds in 30 minutes and stuff like that. So he's one guy I'd like to see lift for OKC. But look, they split that 1-1 series there. It's the talk of their 2 leading players, though, isn't it? The Joker got the W today. SGA with 40 points, I think 2 days ago when they played. It's a clear 1-2 for MVP. The Joker put up a line, though, on Saturday against Phoenix, which maybe, in my mind, could have just pushed him maybe even level or maybe slightly ahead of SGA. So he put up the first ever 30-20-20 line. I think it was the first ever. Anyway. It is. Sounds good. So he had 31 points, 21 rebounds, 22 assists with 3 steals. I think he's in the top 5 for steals as well again, Woods, which you probably wouldn't pick for him. Shooting a cool 59% in an 8-point overtime win. So let me repeat that, Woods. 31 points, 21 rebounds, 22 assists, 3 steals. How incredible is that line?
It's ridiculous. And I mean, I was thinking about it. He scored an assist on like 23 assists, right? So let's just say he's scoring, assisting on 2.5 points per assist on average. Let's just call it around 60 points on 50 points he's assisting on. Then he's got 30 points himself, right?
Yeah.
So over 80 points he's contributed to himself, right? Through assists and points, rebounding. He's just involved in everything. So I just find it. I didn't actually watch the game. I just saw the box score afterwards, and I was just dumbfounded.
Crazy, wasn't it? Let's go quickly back to OKC, Woods. What's your thoughts on them? Do you think it's their year? Do you think they're maybe still another year away? How do you see that going? We saw them crumble a little bit against a veteran Dallas team in the playoffs this year. As I mentioned, I've still got a few concerns with guys like Chet. Do all those role-playing guys that have been so great off the bench suddenly go a little step down? We're talking about guys like Andrew Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Wallace, these sort of guys like that. Do you think this is their year, or do you think maybe they're another year away?
I think they're probably a year away, right? There's some other teams in the West, Denver, even Lakers looking good,
Well, if
right?
they can get LeBron back healthy in time for the playoffs, he's out a couple of weeks now.
There are a couple of teams that I could see actually coming out of the West ahead of OKC. The thing about OKC is they don't have guys that are tried and tested during that period. I talked about the NBL being a 5-game series where you can make adjustments on the go against the same team. Same thing in the playoffs in a 7-game series. It's not the same as going and playing a different team every night.
How would you see OKC going and say a second round matchup against a team like Minnesota there? How do you think OKC can handle them? Because you've got guys like Ant Edwards, big shot player. Julius Randle's back healthy. They've got some veteran players on that team. They're a team that I think could trouble OKC.
Totally. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Interesting. Watch this space anyway. It does feel very open again this year, doesn't it? We know the East. Look, Cleveland's just got an amazing record. I think I messaged us the other day and said, Cleveland's 40 games over 500. It just didn't even feel right sort of even typing that there. Just an amazing season. Probably not getting as much credit as they should there.
That team's built for a championship as well. You look at all the pieces they've got there. They're covered to go up against a variety of different lineups. So that's something to think about.
Saying that though, but I think if you asked any sort of person that knows, a fan that knows what they're talking about, they're all going to say Boston's still the favourite, right? So it's like they've got that trust. Kristaps Porzingis is a little bit of a worry. He's had some mystery virus thing that's kept him out for a while now. He can never seem to stay on the court there now. So, it's interesting. I love the fact that, just briefly on Boston there, Woods, they've got guys like Sam Hauser today got a career high. Peyton Pritchard got 40 points on 10 threes when him and Derek the Forward White went off with that 19 combined three-pointers. So I love the fact they can get these massive big games from guys that aren't, named Jalen and Jason there. So that's a good sign for me. I think Cleveland's bench definitely isn't in that same category as Boston. Yeah, they've got guys, the Virginia teammates in Ty Jerome and Hunter, and a couple of guys that are solid there. But I think Boston can bring some game-changing players on. Right?
Even guys like Al Horford, Luke Cornett come in and fill the void when Kristaps is out, and they've got a lot of bases covered. So it's hard to look past Boston.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, appreciate that. Well, we'll continue to sort of look. As I said, it's surprising that most teams have got like 16 or 17 games. This season's going to fly by now. We're nearly halfway through March. For those, teams that aren't going to make the playoffs, it's nearly, Mad Monday, 1, 2, 3 Cancun time, right? So it's pretty crazy that that's all finished. And then we have the draft stuff, the Cooper Flag, sweepstakes, and all those sort of things to look forward to there. So, all right, good stuff, Woods. Well, let's get into some quick hits. And I wanted to sort of really focus on a bit of WNBL here. So I'm rocking the Sami Whitcombe jersey. So congratulations to Bendigo. They had a sweep over Townsville in the grand final, winning 2-0. So WNBL is best of 3. I know we probably both like to see it best of 5, but nevertheless, it's best of 3. In game 1, Townsville had Bendigo had a 70-60 victory there. They were led by Burton, Tolo, and Whitcombe. And look, they really played good defense. They held Nia Coffey there to 5 points. So then we had game 2 on Sunday. Didn't think it was the most amazing game. Pretty low scoring, bit of a grind out affair there. 63-55 win. So it's actually their 3rd WNBL title, Woods, and their first since 2014, where incidentally they also beat the same team in Townsville Fire there. So as we mentioned, and as I'm rocking a jersey today, Sami Whitcombe, the Rachel Spawn grand final MVP, 26 points in that closeout game. So she was just amazing there. Really was just the answer to both those teams there. Look, this Bendigo team to me, Woods, feels like they're built for a pretty decent run here. You've got people like Tolo and Whitcombe there. We saw how good they were in that Olympic campaign. They really enjoy playing with each other. So I think they're a good chance to sort of continue that bit of a legacy there. But look, I know you've been out and about the last week, but what were your thoughts on Bendigo? They were the best team of the season as well.
Yeah,
right?
they
minor
were.
premiers as well.
Yeah, and it was actually good to see at that game 3 sold out Townsville Entertainment Center. They obviously get right behind the girls, and so it was nice to see some good crowd. Game 2, yeah, it was nice to see a good crowd there.
Yeah.
They were the best team all season, and obviously you mentioned Sami Whitcombe and Tola stepping up in that game 2. And hopefully the umbrella changing with the WNBL falling under the NBL banner going forward, and the transition that the landscape of women's basketball is going through in Australia at the moment. We'll see more eyes on our league next year. Yeah?
Well, that's a good point, actually. So I believe it's the 1st of April that transition happens there. I don't think we're going to see these scheduling conflicts that we've seen that I know is crazy. Like, had Townsville won that game too, game 3 would have been tomorrow night at exactly the same time as the game 2 and the Illawarra, like, United Series. You cannot do that. Like, that's just poor planning there. And I think Basketball Australia, maybe haven't handled that scheduling side of things too much. You want to promote the game. You want people to have eyes on this great women's product that's available now. So hopefully the NBL being involved, I think the scheduling will be better. There's be a lot more. Maybe sort of cross marketing between teams and everything else like that.
We don't need 4 or 5 days between the games. They should just say finals.
And then have them at the same day and the same time. What are we doing?
Finals week over 7 or 8 days, all right? And you'll have one game each day, one women, one men's, over like an 8-day period. Market it together as finals week for WNBL and
not
NBL.
a separate sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, that was the first thing I thought of when Bendigo won. I thought, oh, phew, at least we're not going to have to do the 2 TVs out on Wednesday night to sort of watch both those games. But I think that'll be a good thing. So that's 1st of April, April Fool's Day. Hopefully that won't be the case there. But yeah, congratulations to Bendigo Spirit. So the WNBL season's done. WNBA, as I mentioned, starts in May. So looking forward to get behind that. We'll get in the fantasy as well.
I'll play this year. I'll play this year. Yeah.
Looking forward to do that. Yeah. Want to just quickly touch on some NBL1 Eastwoods. That's where I'm at with that one there. So I got to go out and take a look at my Hills Hornets on the weekend. They had a practice game in the men's and women's against Penrith. So was pretty excited to go out for that, right? So Hills have got a couple of new American imports. Meekness Payne, who played in the VBL last year and was the MVP of that league in Victoria. And Zach Hudson, who was an import for Inner West last year. So both those 2 guys, I know you're looking forward to come out and watching games this year.
Yeah.
These guys are really good, right? They're both similar sort of players. They're probably about 6'6", both very strong, can both dribble, can both shoot, can both defend. So they're pretty, versatile players that they can play a number of positions. Hills have also got another guy, the name of Jacob Foy, who was a D2 college player, I believe, there. I think he might have played some time in Hawaii. But he's been in the NBL1 South for Knox and, winning championships with them the last couple of years. So he's a massive get. He was coached by Coach Reece Potter as a junior there. So that's that connection on how Hills have got someone with that pedigree there. So I think you're going to be really impressed when you see these 3 guys come in. And equal with the Hills women as well. So, obviously I'll talk a little bit about Hills throughout the year, but they picked up a girl by the name of Jade Kisomi there. So actually a St. Mary's graduate there. We've got a bit of time for St. Mary's there. So she was in the NBL1 North with Logan last year. Had a real good chat with her on the weekend. Lovely girl. And she's going to be a great player for Hills there. So, looking forward to it. The NBL1 East, for those that haven't seen, have loaded up in talent. Bankstown's got Jason Kadee. Illawarra's got Todd Blanchfield. There's a number of really good players there. I was hearing rumours on the weekend that Kawatanoy is going to be playing with Sutherland. I cannot confirm that news anywhere, so not quite sure. But your boy Spurgeon from the Sydney Kings playing for Sutherland, that's who Hills play the
Great
first
opportunity
game.
for him as well to get
well,
some
I think
burn.
one of the Sutherland assistant coaches is on the Sydney Kings coaching staff. I think that's the connection there. So maybe this Kawatanoy rumour is true. I think he's playing in China at the moment, so not quite sure about that. But yeah, don't sleep on the East, as Jacinta and Lockie both like to say on the East Got Game podcast. I think it's going to be really good this year. And looking forward to speak about all these leagues. Once the NBL finishes, WNBL's finished, we'll do a little NBL1 segment each week and try and promote what is a really good league these days and something that people should really be watching. So, all right, good stuff. Well, before we get into quick classic packs, I've got some true false for us as always. Wood.
Okay,
so
sure, yeah.
Hopefully you'll like.
I
some
didn't
of
read
these,
it on the run sheet today, actually. So
didn't have classic packs on there.
No, I didn't read the true or false. So I don't know what
okay,
you're
well
about
that's
to tell
fine.
me.
You don't really need to study these ones. All right. So good to see Woody comes prepared after I spend all this time with these run sheets.
Man, I've been the international man of mystery traveling.
You are the international man of mystery, the businessman yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Topic number 1. Christian Doolittle will be the only big name returning to the Wildcats next season.
Well, judging by his interview on the Dribble podcast, it's a false. Unless you guys can pay a lot of money for him. I actually think that Dylan Windler is the most likely to come back out of the 3. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So
I'm going to say true. I think Doolittle comes back, but look, I think Pinder's definitely not coming back. I don't know where he'll end up.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he is.
I was talking to the sport blokes and a couple of the guys in Perth the last week, and they were thinking that apparently Pinder was happy towards the end of the
I'm
year.
going to say no. I don't know whether they want to bring him back on the money. So
Fair enough, yeah.
Someone asked me for a percentage about Bryce Cotton the other day. I think I said I reckon he's 30%. He comes back 70%. He goes to Japan there. So, look, I think it's going to be a very different team there. We mentioned last week, I think Roscoe Nance and Pepper are the only contracted players there. So it's going to be a massive overhaul there, which I'm a little bit nervous to see. But that's number one. Number two, we will see Jacob Jackomas on the sidelines again next season as an NBL assistant coach.
I'm going to say false.
Interesting.
And I'd like to. I love Jacob, but I think the jury is still out after his time at Illawarra.
I'm going to say true, Woods. Firstly, there's a couple of coaching vacancies that have opened up there. We know he's still a very respected guy, especially as assistant. And what's to say that your boy, your favourite coach, Brian Gorgon, a.k.a. the GOAT, what's to say he doesn't try and bring Jacob back as maybe an assistant there? Because we know Daniel Kickett's left, right? So that's a spot that's open there. So, I just have a feeling we might see him back next year. I know he's going to be a father in about a month as well, so shout out to JJ. But I'd like to see him back, and I have a feeling it may happen.
Wouldn't have minded seeing him, with a sensible word in Gorge's ear from time to time this season.
100%. He can call the subs next season, right? Yeah.
Right, yeah.
All right, then we'll finish off with some quick NBA ones here. So, Cade Cunningham is a legit chance of making All-NBA first team this season.
First team?
As you're thinking about that answer, let's think about guys like Luka. Unlikely to make it, right? I would have thought. Why can Cade Cunningham not make it? Look at his stats. Look at the improvement in that team. I think he's a decent shot.
I'd have to think about it.
Yeah. Well, that shows you how close it is, right? If you have to, it's not like a no straight away. Look, I think he's definitely a lock to make at least a second. But I just sort of saw him last week and you know what? Could he shock everyone and make All NBA first team? You never know. You never know.
All right. So I'm just trying to think here. Who else?
Well, he's ahead of guys like Booker. He's ahead, I think, of Luka. And obviously Luka's going to get the more fame with the name that he's got and stuff like that there. But I think it depends,
SGA and Edwards, Tatum, Giannis.
Was Edwards had a better season? I don't think so.
Maybe not.
I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe not. But he has
come good lately. That's not a bad question, that one, is it?
He has come good lately, Edwards, right? So,
true, he has.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely second, maybe first. You agree with that?
Definitely second.
Nice. All right. Philadelphia will cut ties with coach Nick Nurse before the start of next season. True or false?
Like it's his fault what happened this year, but it's possible it's true.
I think true. The coach always falls on the sword, right? We know Daryl
it's a results-based business. But come on, man. He's been given a pile of shit, basically, to deal with all year.
I didn't know who half the players they were playing today on that team. Like, who the heck's that guy? I never heard of that person. But, it wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, they'll stick with him.
He's a great coach, man, and we've seen that. He's a great people's coach. I think they should look to part ways with Joel Embiid, really, and Paul George and all of those guys.
Especially Embiid, if you can do anything with him. He's not going to play back-to-backs for the rest of his career. Get out of town. But, so I think we're probably both are true on that one. The final true and false. I saw this game live where this happened here. So Jalen Brunson. So true or false, the Knicks will slide in the standings out of the top four in the East with Jalen Brunson's ankle injury.
True.
I think so too. You're not trusting Miles McBride?
No.
He's a point guard that'll be lucky to get about 3 assists a game. I would have thought that guy's a professional bucket getter.
And he's going to play him for 38 minutes anyway.
It's a shame, isn't it? The Knicks have been fun to watch this year, but we know they've got a pretty ordinary record against some of the better teams as well. So seeing Brunson go down in an overtime game where he played so many minutes there probably wasn't a massive shock. To his credit, not sure if you saw it, was he went down, stayed on the court, nailed his free throws, which is pretty courageous, and limped off there, and he's out for a few weeks. So I think the news he'll be evaluated in 10 days. So that's never a great sign, right? That's not he'll be back in 10. That's further evaluation and update will be given then. So all right, appreciate that one there. So, right, classic packs. Let's finish off.
Let's do it. So I actually did the Flair 91-92 with the boys on their show, with the sport blokes on their show. I did really well, man. I only got, I think, 1 or 2 wrong. So
they quizzed you, did they? Or
they quizzed me.
It hasn't come out yet, so when it comes out,
nice. Oh, man, and this is exactly the same first card that I got in their pack. Nice. Like, Stewie, same first card. We know him. Ex-Atlanta Hawk, Utah Jazz, Minnesota Timberwolves forward, had a failed stint at coaching.
Corbin.
Yep. Exactly the same card in the first pack.
Interesting.
First card in the pack that Stewie opened the other day. Which is crazy to think. Okay. Oh, this card was also in the pack, right?
Quality control by Flair back in the day.
Straight up scorer for the San Antonio Spurs. Played for Milwaukee. just a bucket getter, man.
Paul Pressey.
Power forward, 6'9", went to DePaul. Like he'd average in the 20s consistently, man. You could play with him on NBA Jam after you unlocked the additional players.
Spurs in Milwaukee.
Yep. Started off in Milwaukee, ended up at San Antonio in 91, 92. Number 34.
Oh, Terry Cummings.
Yeah, Terry
Of course.
Cummings.
Yeah, DePaul. That should have been the clue I should have got there. Yeah, I was a big fan of Terry Cummings back in the day.
Okay, we know this guy. We've pulled many of his cards. This is his slam dunk. Okay, this guy was in the 91 slam dunk competition. The Utah Jazz swingman was tabbed as a replacement for defending champion Dominic Wilkins of the Atlanta Hawks. So I think Dominic was injured that year, so he couldn't take part in it. Okay, his mom called him this because he turned this color when he was a kid.
Theodore. Blue Edwards, one of my favourites. What did I wear that Blue Edwards jersey in? Mine was maybe in the first 15 episodes we've done of this show. So yeah, shout out to Blue Theodore Edwards.
For those who can see, this guy used to shoot his free throws like this. And
He's good. He's a forgotten about player, isn't he?
This guy I'm talking about right now.
You're doing
he used to shoot his free throws like this. And
Bill Cartwright?
Yeah, Michael Jordan used to say, "I don't want to throw the ball to Bill Cartwright with 4 seconds left on the shot clock." Right? Actually, a pretty good free throw shooter with that technique, though. You know,
big unit, wasn't he? What's his height and weight listed on that? He was always a
7'1", 245.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. How would he go in today's game? Woods? Bill Cartwright, bit of a blast from the past type player, isn't he? Yeah.
Not very well. I mean, like he could shoot that mid-range jumper from the baseline a little bit. You know, yeah. Okay, I'm never nervous.
Good old Purvis Ellison.
Purvis Ellison.
Jeez, he had the career at his feet, didn't he? The number one draft pick there, just never quite. He wasn't a bust by any means there. He's still a solid player, you know, Sacramento, Washington, but never quite delivered, did he?
Yep. We used to put this into Mega Drives and Super Nintendos in the past to play them. What were they?
Like Bulls versus Sonics or something? Or?
No. What's the name of the thing you put in there?
The cartridge. So you're talking Terry Catledge.
Terry Catledge.
Nice. I feel like we've pulled his card a few times as well. Big Terry Catledge for the Magic.
Terrible free throw shooter for the Nets here.
Chris Dudley.
One of the worst free throw shooters of all time.
He was really bad. Look at that old Nets jersey as well. I've forgotten all about that.
Pretty cool.
One, it's not bad, is it?
Yeah, I've got the Drazen Petrovic in that particular one.
Yeah. Chris Dudley was also with the Knicks. He was a pretty ordinary foul shooter, that's for sure.
I told the coach, I got Mike. And he said, nah. We're going to put this guy on Mike instead.
Gary Payton?
No. This is the shot. And Ron Harper said this.
Brian, don't call me Byron Russell.
No. This is Ron Harper at Cleveland guarding Michael Jordan's shot in Game 5 of the playoffs in 87 or 88. The big shot over who, right? And there's an interview. Craig Elo, exactly. Yeah. But Ron Harper was interviewed and he said, I told the coach, I got Mike.
You see Ron Harper on X, as it's known these days. He's an interesting guy too. He comes out with some random stuff from time to time. And he's also going to have another son, you know, drafted in the lottery next year as well, Ron Harper.
Nice. What's happening with Ron Harper Jr., the first son?
Still in the Jew League, yeah. Hasn't really managed to finish. A little bit undersized, I think, from what I know about him. But yeah, maybe we'll see a couple of them next year anyway.
The Rain Man.
Good old Sean Kemp.
Speaking of kids.
Yeah, exactly right. Good call. If you have a Sean Kemp card, you've got to have him dunking, right? It's like it'd be a disservice not to have him doing.
Maybe not on his 2002 Orlando Magic card when he was big boy. You wouldn't have him dunking on that card, would you?
Exactly, 200 kilos. Yeah.
All right, rest in peace to this great survivor and NBA legend.
Clifford, Uncle Cliffy, Cliff Robinson.
Shout out to this season of Australian Survivor. It's been awesome, by the way.
Yeah, it's been great.
Loved it.
He was one of the best early six men, wasn't he, Cliff Robinson?
Yeah,
he was really sort of made that position cool, didn't he, to become a six man?
Yep, love that Portland team, man. I also, it's hard to forget that series, that particular game, and Michael Jordan went off against him as well, right? From 38 in the first half, right? Yeah. And shrug shoulder game, right? All right. League leaders and assists. Who was the lead leader in assists in 91? It's pretty straightforward.
John Stockton, didn't it? Could have been anyone else.
Yep.
How much do you reckon he paid for that haircut back in the day, Woods? John Stockton.
Not much.
Not much?
Probably got his wife to do it.
Possibly so. He would have been a bit of a cheap guy, I reckon. Seems like to be one of those sort of guys.
You remember the Dream Team documentary when like he just gets off the bus and walks down the street,
and
like no one knows who he is.
Right? Homemade haircut, 6 foot, nothing, standout sort of things for him. But what a player he was!
Big bruising left-hander, big man, number 40, 7'2", went to Washington State University for the Dallas Mavericks. James Donaldson, left-hander he was, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah. He was a massive unit, wasn't he, as well? Yeah. He's kind of got that old look as well, right? Like if you look at that, he looks like he's in his sort of 40s at the time, doesn't he?
I wonder what he looks like now.
Yeah. Probably still a massive unit, probably even more massive, I'd say.
Okay, this Atlanta Hawk of ours was traded to Sacramento during the season. Spud Webb.
Who did he get traded for? I'm trying to remember who that would have been. Look that upwards. I want to know who he was traded for.
In a second.
Do some fact checking.
And okay, while I'm doing that, the final card is also a rest in peace to one of the greatest shot blockers of our time.
Oh, shout out to DeCambie, right?
No, another one who died recently before him. Travis Mays. So Sean Mays' father.
Mays, yeah, point guard, interesting.
Died riding his bike recently.
Oh, Mark Eaton, of course, a massive Utah Jazz. I think he played his whole career with the Jazz, didn't he, Mark Eaton? So, geez, we got some big men in that pack, didn't we? There, so James Donaldson, Mark Eaton, had a couple of sort of big guys there.
Mark Eaton, James Donaldson. Then we had Sean Kemp is a big man, I guess, right? Cliff Robinson's a big man, I guess. Bill Cartwright as well. Yeah. Terry Cummings. Yep.
So not a bad pack there, right?
Not a bad pack at all.
There was no real stiffs or unknown sort of players there. So that was fun. So what was that? That was 91-92 for you, wasn't it?
Yep. I've got a couple left, and then I'll have to get some more. Yep.
Very good. All right, Woods, it's been fun, mate. Glad to actually lock down a time with you when you're not doing businessman stuff. And, of course, with you wearing those glasses, you just look even smarter than ever before. So I'm honoured that you joined us today. So, just a reminder, as I mentioned at the start of the show, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We can also be followed on X at Throwback Hoops. If Woody ever remembers, and I don't have to remind him every week, he'll post the jerseys, photos, and the card of the week. He's a little bit slow on those ones. Lucky I'm there to remind him. But also on Instagram, throwback.hoops, email address throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Send us through suggestions, jersey suggestions, stuff you want us to talk about. I know we've had people reach out and say to us, Woods, they love those top 10 lists we've done before. So maybe that's something we've got a bit more time when the NBL finishes, some sort of top 10 list. But and Patreon as well, if you want to pledge a few dollars to help us with the production and all the expenses associated with this podcast. We'd be grateful if you were able to do that. Woods, got any final words? What are you most looking forward to in this NBL final series?
Just something to be competitive, right? As you said, if it does get done tomorrow with the Melbourne victory, it's 2-0. We had the excitement of the 5-game series last year. I'd like to see a repeat of that. Apart from that, Phil Smeets, one of our friends who listens to the show, I was with him in Perth recently. He said, when are you and Robbie going to go back and look at your draft that you did on all the teams? So I think what we probably need to do is that, right?
100%. I know I had to look at it halfway through the year and I was up quite a bit. But it'll probably depend on who ended up getting Cleveland, because that's going to be the massive one. Yeah. That would have been about the 10th team taken. They might likely end up with the... So we'll do that. We'll also go back possibly on next week's show and do the NBL predictions and sort of do that full disclosure on how we went with some of our picks there. But good call by Phil there. I've definitely got that all together, and I'll be interested to see how that's worked out. That was pretty fun doing that draft. It's something we'll definitely do again next year.
I'm keen to see how we went at the end of the year. So let's do that. There's no point in doing it now. We'll do it once the season finishes.
100%. Once the regular season finishes. Nice one, Woods. Well, that was fun. Appreciate it catching up. And so just peace out from the Throwback Hoops crew. Do it all again next week.